How you doing? This is Arlene. I'm coming back at you with B of Messages of the Heart series. And today I want to talk to you about boyfriends. I don't know where we're going to go with this, but I don't have enough light. Just a minute. Ta-da! How's that? Can you see me a little better? I don't feel like going through all that retaping and everything. Like, I'm just keeping it real. But I want to talk to you about boyfriends today. Oh my goodness. I am 54 years old, and I can remember the time when I even thought that I liked a boy. And one of the things that I remember is that coming up as a little girl, I wanted to beat my boyfriends up. And that's how I knew that I liked somebody, because they wanted to beat me up or I wanted to beat them up, and it was just like that. But then later on in life, as I figured out that that is what was going on, it changed from beating them up to wanting to kiss them. And so that was a fun time in my life, and anytime I think about that, my old boyfriends, I still get like little girly moments and everything like that. But anyway, boyfriends, and girlfriends, but we'll talk about that later. But boyfriends can be some serious things, When you are young, coming up, having a boyfriend, they can really break your heart. They can turn you against boys, men altogether, or they can make you just feel like that every boy you see has to be your boyfriend. So I don't know where you fit in that category, but from my experience, I loved courting. That's what my mom used to call it, courting. And she'd always say, beau, Beau. Is that your beau? I'm like, is that my beau? What is you talking about? But back then that meant, is that your boyfriend? And so before, like I was saying earlier, before I started getting abused and everything like that, oh my God, I just had so much plans for the boy that I fell in love with at a young age. We're going to get married, we're going to have babies, we're going to have a good job and everything. But then when I started getting abused, and then my abuser told me that if he caught me talking to anybody, what he was going to do to me. So that just changed my whole outlook. So I never had the privilege of courting, going to a high school prom, or having my virginity taken on my wedding day and all like that. So this is another reason why I try to talk to young girls too, and young boys also. But like I said, I'll get into that later on a young man's perspective. But this is why I think it is so important for little girls, young girls, and older women to know that keeping your virginity is just the most amazing thing that I think a girl could go through, that she can experience, because God created us for that purpose, to have sex when we get married. But coming up, and depending on who you're around and everything like that, you can become so pressured into just feeling like you have to have sex right now, especially with me. But before I go into a little spiel about this, I just wanted to say that what I wanted to basically talking about boyfriends, is crushes and relationships. And as I was saying before, the little time that I did have crushes on guys in my neighborhood and all that, before I was intimidated into stopping my childhood altogether, I loved writing poetry to little boys that I thought I liked. Roses are red, violets are blue. Do you like me? I like you. Or either, if you like me, check this box, put a yes or a no. I thought that was all fun as I look back on it now. And that's why when my grandkids tell me that they have little boyfriends and everything like that, and I'll be asking, do you write them notes? Are you sending them like little flowers and leaving it here and there? That kind of stuff, I think it is so important in a young relationship. When you're having a crush on somebody, that you can write them a little poetry, write them a little note or something like that, and for the most part keep it interesting. Just leave it on the desk at school where they're gonna sit or something like that, and keep that same childish mentality when you start dating, at a reasonable age. Also, keep that youthfulness, that liveliness in your relationship. Right now, today, with my husband, even before we got married, I would write little notes to him and pin them on the wall or something like that, or buy him a card and just give it to him, or just sit down and draw him a picture and we'll laugh about it and things like that. But for the sake of time, I'm just saying that if you are at an age where you're going to start having a crush on a young man, and you're old enough to listen to this video, I want you to know that it's okay to go through those motions, because you're human. So you're going to start finding out that, hey, that boy is cute, or I sure like the way he walk, I like the way he talk, and then you're going to find out that might be the only thing you like about him. That once you get with him, you'll be like, can you just walk so I can remember that I like you for some reason? Because then you might find out that you really don't have no kind of connection whatsoever, but the fact that you like the way he walk or the way he talk. Like I'll tell you a funny story. Like my husband, he has such a deep voice, and I used to always tell him all the time, when he get on my nerve or something like that, and I'd be like, can you please call me on the phone? And he'd be like, for what? I said, so I can hear your voice, so I can remember that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with you. And it's a joke between us. And another thing, going through a relationship. Now, I'm not no expert on relationship, but I did do some marriage and counseling courses, and I'm in human services, and I have a little degree off in counseling stuff. But that's not to say that I'm a true professional on marriage and counseling and relationships and all like that. But I've been through some things, and this is what I call my qualification. I've been through some things, so I'm basically just telling you about my experiences, so that you can get maybe an idea of saying, oh, I went through the same thing, or I understand where she's coming from. So when I'm talking to you, remember, I'm basing a lot of what I talk about on my personal relationship. And sometimes I'll go and find some research or some data and all like that, and bring it out there to you also. But with relationships are so important. Relationships are like peanut butter and jelly, like Kool-Aid and sugar. They just go together, And then sometimes you have something like peanut butter and honey, where it's not normal. It's not like peanut butter and jelly, but it still do go together. And I'm saying that to say that sometimes you're going to get into a relationship, and everything you do is not going to really make it seem like you're supposed to be together. But you can get along. So because you can get along, you can get by everything else. That's where peanut butter and honey come in. That's where you're not really liking each other, but you can get along, so you hang with each other. Those are like relationships. You never know what your relationship is going to be until you get involved. But sometimes there are warning signs, like that walk you like him doing, or that talk you like hearing him talk. Sometimes that could be a warning sign that if you can't find anything else about this person that you like, you might should just keep liking the way he walk from a distance. You know what I'm saying? But relationships are so funny, but they could be so good, and they could be so fun. And I'm telling you, it's like, when you become at an age where you feel like you're falling in love, you fall in love, you have your boyfriend with you, or what have you. You fall in love for that whatever reason. You just keep doing what you did to fall in love with. Keep keeping yourself up. Keep writing little notes and everything like that. Keep laughter, keep doing things together, all kind of things like that. But I'm telling you, I wanted to tell you about some do's and don'ts about boyfriends. When you have a boyfriend, I'm not talking about little crushes now. I'm talking about having a boyfriend. You done went past the crush, and now you're at that point where you're feeling something when he touches you, when he kisses you, or stuff like that. And sometimes we're going to call that pitter-pattering around, okay? When you're pitter-pattering around with your boyfriend, you have to be careful how you pitter-pattering, okay? Because when you pitter-pattering, you're getting hot and bothered, and your emotions start kicking in, and now it's going to a level of sexuality, okay? And two things are bound to happen. You're going to give in to that pitter-pattering, which is going to lead into sexual intercourse, or you're going to stop it at some point. My suggestion to you is that don't pitter-patter around. Do not pitter-patter around. Holding hands is good enough, okay? And maybe a little kiss on the cheek or here or there, something like that. But when you start pitter-pattering around, it leads into more heavier pitter-patter around, okay? And another thing I'm saying is you might get caught up in the moment, and you just find yourself giving in. I hope that if you ever get in that predicament, that you will say, stop, no, I'm not going to do this, and realize that you can't do that anymore. Because the Bible says the spirit is the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And that's a serious thing. Now, I know that it probably is talking about something else, but the flesh is weak. And our skin, this stuff right here, it's like it has a mind of its own. And if you rub your hand enough, you start feeling it getting warm. It's getting warm. Now, can you imagine if you're in a situation where you like a person and they're rubbing on you, and it's not like a roughness, and you feel your body getting warm? That's your flesh starting to get weak, and the next thing you know, you'll be pitter-pattering around. Don't give in, whatever you do. And another thing that I want to point out is you do not have to feel pressure. If you're pitter-pattering around and the person that you're talking to starts saying, oh, come on, everybody's doing it, if your boyfriend is telling you this, come on, everybody's doing it, we're the only ones that's probably not doing it, you look him square in the eye and say, oh, well, I'm not doing it, and I shouldn't have been letting you kiss on me anyway, okay? But we're talking about even if you're not letting him pitter-patter around with you, or you're not kissing him on the cheek or anything, do not ever, 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 ever feel pressure into giving up your virginity, okay? Because that moment is going to pass. And if that moment don't pass, then you get up and help it pass by walking away. And you let them know that you're not going to do it, and you don't care what they're going through, you're not going to do it. But always remember to keep yourself in a situation with a person. This is what happens with so many of the young girls too, is that they always want to go off with their boyfriends, and I know you want to go to the movies and everything like that. Always stay around somebody. Don't just always be off by yourself with your boyfriend. Don't always be off in a corner and this, that, and the other, because when you get in an isolated predicament, all kinds of things can happen. And where this boyfriend is your loving soulmate that you think could just come from heaven, he might turn into a Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde in a minute, because that flesh is telling him that he needs it, he wants it, and he wants you. He's going to make you feel like that you're the best looking person in the world, and he just got to have you, and blah, 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 and he's going to give you the world. Remember, you're in school. How you going to give the world? Okay? He ain't even got a pot to piss in on the window to throw it out of anyway. But anyway, I'm just saying, don't feel pressure to give up your most precious item that God has given you, your virginity. Okay? If there is anything, if anybody asks me right now, of all the things in your life that you have had to give up, what would you want back? And it would be my virginity, to experience a night with a wedding night with my virginity, to experience with my husband the way God intended it to be. But just don't rush into going beyond pitter-pattering, because you can ruin your life. There's been a lot of people that have had their boyfriends, they've had sexual intercourse with them, they've gotten pregnant. Some of them stayed together, some of them ended up being by themselves, and they made it happen for them and their child. The child and the pregnant person, had the baby, and blah blah blah. It all came together for them. But for the most part, if you have a boyfriend and you have sex with them, and you end up getting pregnant at some point or another, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna end up alone. All you'll have is your baby to struggle with. And I'm just saying, it's not worth it. If you between the ages of 9 and 18, trust me when I say 9, that is right, so true. Try your best to keep your virginity as long as you possibly can, no matter what happens. And if you're 18 and you like 30 something and you still haven't had no pitter pattering around, don't feel like you're really missing anything, because you're not. But I'm just saying, even from 18 to 30, wait. I say wait on the Lord to send you the right man, so you won't have to go around the world looking for him after you've given him yourself. And then you'd be like, what happened to this fool? He said he loved me and blah, blah, blah. And now he's gone. 9 times out of 10, that's what's going to happen. Another thing, if you do go out partying with your boyfriend and there's other guys around and you're like the only girl, you might want to think about that too, especially if they're drinking, having drugs, and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you'd be like, oh, well, we go to church together. We all go to church together. We're up. Trust me. Sometimes it does not matter if your friends are church-going friends or whatever. I'm telling you, in an isolated situation, Dr. Jekyll is always lurking somewhere in the background. But one thing I try to tell girls is, do not drink and do drugs around a lot of boys. Don't do them, period. But I'm talking about around a lot of boys. I don't care if your boyfriend is there or not. And first of all, if he really liked you, he would not have you around all his friends or homeboys or anything like that. I don't care how down it look, but take it from one who knows that, that is not a good thing to do. It's not a fly thing to do. And why put yourself in a predicament that you might get out of, but that's extra energy and exertion that you never would have had to use if you hadn't never gone there in the first place. And let me see, something else. Don't be with anyone that make you feel like you have to be, or allows you to drink and do drugs and stuff. What I'm talking about right there is that, say you're 15 years old and you walk into the store, and then this fine dude come along, and he gives you the line about, how nice you look, how sweet you look, and I'm not talking about no ball or nothing like that. I'm just talking, it could be an L7 Negro, whatever. But I'm just saying that if you're like 15 or 16 years old, and you see this cat hanging around the stores or pulling up on young girls and giving them these lines and stuff, you gotta let your antennas rise, because 9 times out of 10 he don't mean you no good. And people give you this impression that these pimps and everything be having feathers coming out their hats, and they all looking like Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch, or somebody from the Mac, or I'm trying to think of something that you young folks will understand, but anyway, a pimp does not always have feathers coming out of his hat and long hair or holding a can. Oh, Cat Williams. You know how the characters that Cat Williams portray? All the pimps don't be dressed like that. You'll find a lot of pimps and human traffickers that dress like probably your dad or your uncle, or like a preacher man or something, white shirt, tie, and everything else like that. Some of them will come up to you in a old Volkswagen or something. Whatever they have to do to capture you, to bring you in, to get you into that isolated predicament. And once they get you in that isolated predicament, you know, they basically have free reign with you, because you have put yourself up in that predicament to be talked to. So what I'm saying is that try not to get yourself into a isolated predicament where somebody will pressure you into doing what you don't want to do. I'm not saying that all men are like that, but I'm just trying to put you up on game that the majority of them out there that's hanging around where young girls are, they not hanging around older women, because they know older women is not going to put up with that BS. Except, you know, you find some weak-minded people that, you know, they just fall off into that trap like that. But I pray that you won't. So don't let anyone make you be or do something that you're not. I'm telling you, don't take having boyfriends lightly. If your boyfriend is doing drugs or drinking and everything like that, I would suggest that you don't hang with them. If they come up to your house and visit you or something like that, cool, you know, but I would suggest that you don't hang with them. I know there's a lot of people out there that, you know, they smoke weed together, they do drugs together, they do whatever together because it's cool, you know, but cool is not in. Cool is way cold, you know. You don't have to be like that. You don't have to live like that. You are a beautiful woman. God created you to do beautiful things in this life, and you have to set the standard. You have to make sure that a man comes to you on your terms as far as what you want out of life. You know, I'm not saying that you can't work together, but don't fall short. Do not settle for less, you know, and don't be in a rush to have a boyfriend. It's okay, you know, to have friends or whatever, but don't be in a rush to have a boyfriend just because your friends are having boyfriends. Don't be in a rush. The only thing you should be in a rush for is to learn about Jesus Christ and his salvation plan. The only thing you should be in a rush about is going to school and graduating and making something of yourself. Now, if you have somebody that's working with you as you going up and y'all working together, you know, you might see a young man, you're in the 7th grade, and, you know, he might be in the 9th grade or something like that, and he might catch your eye. But just because he catches your eye does not mean you got to run up to him and offer him yourself and give him yourself and make a fool of yourself just to say, hey, look, here I am. Look at me. Look at me. Trust me, if you continue to do the things that you need to do, you will be noticed. You will be noticed. I heard a beautiful quote the other day, and oh my God, I was intending to write it down. There was this lady, she was she had to be a good 60 something, but she had been working, she had a good job, she was just doing her thing, and she was telling everybody how she finally got married again. You know, her other husband had died, but she had waited a long time. And somebody said something to the fact that I'm gonna have to go out here and find me a husband. And she said something to the fact that if you do what you have to do, and if you be who you have to be, he'll find you. And the way she said that was like, and I thought about my messages of the heart. I'm like, I gotta throw that off in there. So that's how I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna say, don't be so hell-bent on going out there, finding you a boyfriend, finding you a man, finding you a husband, or any of those things. Because if you live your life the way God wants you to live your life, you don't have to go find them. They will find you. Okay? So I hope you got something out of this one. I know it's not as raw and raunchy as the rest of them, and not all of them will be, but this is Messages of the Heart by Arlene Rogers, and I just wanted to give you a little gem today to say that if you have a boyfriend, have fun with him, have fun with life, have fun, and just be a good girl, and just live for God, okay? All right, then, I'm out of here.